So, hi everyone. Very warm welcome to today's fireside chat. I'm Amit. I am very much delighted to be your host for this insightful discussion. Today, we have the privilege of being joined by Mr. Anuj Khurana. He's the co-founder and CEO of Anaptyss. Anaptyss is basically a digital solutions powerhouse specializing in the financial services sector. So, Anuj, thanks a lot for joining us today.
But Amit, pleasure is mine. Thank you so much, for taking the time to speak with me. I really appreciate that. So as you have already introduced me, Amit, I would actually not repeat in terms of my title or role. I definitely, head Anaptyss. And just from my personal introduction, by profession, I'm a chartered accountant, completely a Delhiite, born and brought up and raised in the different parts of Delhi before I did actually move my base, to the US, based in Atlanta, Georgia, back in 2012, and I have been in the US since for the last 12 years now. That said, again, my career actually started with institutions like EXL, Agilent, NTT, and WNS. That was actually my last corporate stint per se, where I was, 15 and a half years. That's where ultimately, I think I did actually quit WNS in 2021, June of 21, and that's what actually led to the incubation of Anaptyss. Everybody wants to understand what's the meaning of Anaptyss and from where this actually word came. Anaptyss actually came from a Greek word which means evolve. Okay, and the reason of in fact incubating a services company in such a crowded market, where we actually have such big players. I always felt, and being in the industry on the IT enabled services side of the world, especially in financial services, there was always a need, of a value driven model. That's what I could actually, felt during the course of my interactions with a client in the last 12 years since I moved my base to the US, that each and every client, okay, from a services perspective, we are actually doing our focusing more on the task, and that's what I really wanted to elevate. And by when I say value driven model, how can I take transition from a task to a process to a function, where we create an entire managed services model for our clients, within the banking financial services space, be it regional banks, super regional banks, mortgage lenders, so and so forth, so that we actually enable. Our enablers are both a combination. It's domain and the digital intellect, what we can bring to the table by leveraging a global operating model. Anaptyss right now is close to around north of 300 people split across India. We're definitely a primary, in fact, our location is India between Gurgaon and Noida, close to 200 plus people. Then after that, we actually have a good presence in United States as well, and then followed up by few of the colleagues in Canada, split across 17, 18 different clients that actually we have right now at Anaptyss over the past 3 years since we actually were founded. Focused, majority of them are regional, super regional, or global banks headquartered in different parts of the US, and followed up by a lot of other mortgage lenders, the fintechs of the world, the crypto companies of the world, investment and asset managers, so and so forth. So that's the way, in fact, Amit, who I am, what is Anaptyss, what's the history of Anaptyss, and what we are, are doing right now. So that's it, Amit. I will take a pause. Any questions for me so far?
Perfect. So he's a very well brief about Anaptyss. So as Anaptyss operates across the world with major presence across the major countries, so could you share some highlights into the current global trends which are actually driving digital transformation in the BFSI sector, and how are these trends reshaping the landscape of financial services?
See, I will tell you, in fact, transformation, Amit, in all reality is a very misused jargon, different meanings, different industries, and even within banking and financial services. Though, Amit, I understand banking really, really well. Okay, but once you get involved into the core of banking, the meaning of digital transformation for the frontline bankers is very different than the meaning of transformation, or the digital innovations in the back office, business operations of the world. And that's where I would see the adoption of digital transformation on the front line, the customer facing, because all the apps, what you see in India or what we see in the US, all the apps and everything, that's more focused on improving the immediate customer experience. Okay. So that evolution is going on all the big banks, big institutions, if we talk cities of the world, the ABN AMROs of the world, Bank of New York Mellons of the world, or, Wells Fargo of the world, they are investing big time in that digital innovation for the front end customer, which is actually a good thing. And that's the reason, see, if I talk in the US, Amit, now nobody goes to the branches US to make any kind of, operations, even if you have to deposit a check or everything. So that's more from a frontline customer experience. That's good. But at the same time, if you come on to the back office, the back end, digital transformation, that's where ultimately is the focus right now, and that's where, in fact, bigger banks are investing, but the smaller banks, when I say smaller banks, see, there's a categorization of banks in the US. Any bank over 100 billion in asset size, okay, that's more of a super regional bank or a global bank, they call. Anything south of $100 billion asset size bank, that's called more of a regional or a community bank. And that's where, the biggest struggle is, because those smaller, regional banks or community banks, they don't actually have that funds in place to actually invest in the digital transformation, of their back office business banking operations. And that's where, players like us, and that's what, it goes back to my introduction as well, Amit. I really wanted to target this segment of the market where we can actually build a value-driven model. And that's where, with a combination of digital innovations, whether it is artificial intelligence, whether it is robotics, whether it is, machine learning, whether it is Gen AI, whatever we are talking about to bring. And I think that's the way I see in the evolution of, for these smaller banks in their back office operations to actually progress more over a period of time. Again, you crawl, walk, run, because they have a limited set of money to actually invest. And that's where, they are looking for partners like us, where we actually can bring in that domain. We understand the banking business, and then we can actually bring in all those technologies, to enable or improve or transform their operations. That will ultimately help to enhance the customer experience.
Exactly. Exactly. So, means if we look at the current scenario with global sanctions and regulations evolving, how do these changes impact the compliance strategies in the financial industry, and what role does technology play in ensuring adherence to these AML regulations?
Oh, that's very interesting, Amit. And in fact, when in the introduction of Anaptyss, I did not talk about our offerings. And if you just go on our website, financial crime, the entire BSA, ML, KYC, KYB is one of our actually major offerings. And you actually, in fact, brought up a very relevant and an interesting point. Sanctions are definitely changing the element of risk, given what is happening between Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, and all those things, and that's where ultimately sanctions, actually are making, because see, sanctions are actually all the consumer transactions. They have to actually go through, these, sanctions also, and even the commercial transactions as well. What we are trying to do, Amit, here, in fact, you would actually, we have actually built a solution called Alpha, which is more of a AI machine learning based solution, which actually helps in the eliminations of the false positive automatically. And that's where, in fact, what we are trying to do from a transformation perspective, we are ahead of the curve, and we actually have all the domain leaders, be it from, in fact, BSA, AML space, all those sanctions, everything, this solution actually enables us to make sure in case there is any kind of a false positive, it can be highlighted there and there. And I think that's where you see the transformation, from our side. We're trying to be ahead of the game rather than we're trying to be proactive rather than reactive. And that's, this solution is already in place, alpha, is in place with us, for the last, 18 months. And we continue to actually implement across different banks in the United States. So this is definitely, as you rightly said, the problem statement, what you made, this solution actually addresses that problem statement because there are models. And as the sanctions are changing, Amit, what we continue to do, our engineering and our digital team keeps on updating, these models, or updating or training these models on a regular basis, so that, in fact, none of these sanctions, whatever these sanctions are being put in place, any country or so, any transactions coming from those countries, they can actually be highlighted, and that would actually be, worked upon. So that's the way, Amit, we are trying to be ahead of the game, so that, through a digital intervention rather than just throwing bodies to actually, manage these situations.
Very good. Very good. So another concern is the payment fraud. Okay. So if you talk about real-time payment fraud detection, that is something which is crucial for financial institutions. One of the key challenges organizations face in implementing fraud detections. How can emerging trends and basically Anaptyss helps in it?
I will tell you, Amit, especially the check fraud after COVID, you won't imagine, it has increased exceptionally in the US. Check fraud, majority is check fraud, followed up with check fraud is actually your ACH fraud, wire fraud. That has been actually increased significantly. And again, as I said, in fact, we already have the frauds experts in place. What we are actually doing, Amit, again, this is the problem that lies, with a lot of our clients. And one is more from a fraud. I call it as in fact, our offering is fraud prevention offerings. Okay. And that's where ultimately there are two elements to it, Amit. One is the human capital, all the alerts that actually come to your place, you do it, you review that. What we are actually doing, we are actually building a real-time fraud, monitoring and a detection, solution in-house that ultimately, that is actually at a proof of concept stage with one of our clients, where ultimately, we can deploy that solution on our client's ecosystem that can actually at least, it can, even if it can eliminate, 30 or 40% of, those alerts automatically, that's what ultimately we're looking at. Right now, Amit, my focus is check fraud. Because as I said, to go back to my previous statement, the percentage of fraud alerts or the frauds is maximum in check frauds. The way people actually, take an image of the check, and they actually can, make all the changes or so. That's, it used to happen in the US around 20, 30 years ago, but after COVID, I think the fraudsters are back again. And that's what, Amit, what we are trying, and we are actually doing a proof of concept with a super regional bank, a $200 billion bank based in the US only. We are actually building a real-time check detection, a fraud detection, solution for them. And that's what actually the goal, for that POC is to go live, by, I would say, September of this year.
Very good. Very good. So, means if we see that AI and ML is something which is becoming very much crucial in terms of monitoring of transactions, monitoring of frauds. Okay. So, means how does Anaptyss harness AI and ML technologies to enhance transaction monitoring capabilities and mitigate financial risks for their clients?
Oh, absolutely. And that's, again, Amit, that for Anaptyss, it actually goes back with that philosophy of digital knowledge operations. And, the way I split, digital and knowledge, digital is actually the enablers of robotics process automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning or Gen AI. Knowledge is actually the domain. And that is what, and that's the unique, value proposition of Anaptyss, Amit. If you go on our website, you will see different offerings. Oh, financial crime, enterprise risk management, mortgages, credit risk management, commercial lending, and so forth. What we have done, Amit, from a domain perspective, I have a domain leader who can walk the talk. Because see, if you don't know the business, if you don't understand the business, you cannot do it, you cannot transform it. That domain leader, that practice leader actually works with our digital leader, who brings the enablers of artificial intelligence and AI and machine learning and build those solutions which are specific to the problem statement of our clients, because what we are doing, Amit, we are making, that all these enablers of artificial intelligence, AI, or machine learning as a part of our ecosystem. And that is a part of my value-driven ecosystem, Amit. That's what ultimately we are trying to do. And I call it actually in every business, what we do for clients, whatever operations we are managing, as I said, I was talking about different, category of operations. There is a digital entrepreneur in every business who's a part of the process, who works hand in hand with the operations or the delivery team to help them give ideas, transform operations. And then once, there is an idea on the table, Amit, from a domain perspective, then we actually bring in, our AI experts or our RP experts and machine learning experts. Oh, you tell us, okay, how you can execute that. Because always remember, all the people who actually build models, whether it's an AI model or a machine learning model, they are engineers. Okay. So in Anaptyss, I actually have the domain leaders married with the engineers, and that's where ultimately we come up with those real and relevant digital solutions for our client.
Very good. Very good. So, means let's talk about Anaptyss India presence. So, can you elaborate on why India is strategically important for Anaptyss, both in terms of technology adoption and talent acquisition?
Amit, that gave me actually goosebumps, when I talk about India. Okay. Amit, India is a powerhouse of the talent pool. Powerhouse of the talent pool when it actually concerns around the financial services and operations, what actually we are running. And again, any category of operations you talk about, whether it is, in fact, high-end knowledge, functions, as what we are doing, the credit risk management, it's more about reviewing the entire financial statements of a commercial real estate loan, maybe a $500 million loan or $1 billion loan. That's number one. Model risk management, building those models, documenting those models, reviewing those models. So India, and then at the same time, you have tier one. So all that niche talent you get actually in tier one cities like a Gurugram or a Noida, or actually, metropolitan suite, Mumbai, Bangalore, or so and so forth. And that's more from a domain. And the equally actually the quality of the engineering talent pool, what actually is available. And then when you go to actually there, because see, when I actually talk about financial services, there are a lot of, transactional operations as well. And that's where, tier two cities, maybe like a Jaipur or an Indore or a Kolkata or so. So, yeah, I will, in fact, Amit, India is actually a destination for all, these operations and see, and the reason it's not about, oh, you handle my mess for less. Oh, India, actually, that used to be a perception 20 years ago. Oh, you get cheap labor in India or a China, just move the work. No, it is not just from that perspective anymore. Now, the clients are understanding, and that is what, Amit, I will tell you to be very transparent. I'm not trying to boast about Anaptyss, but that is what, I am actually being able to cultivate that thought process in our clients. Oh, Anaptyss is looking to actually add value to the business, to actually, it's not just from a people perspective, but how we can actually help them to re-engineer the process or innovate the process, be it an intervention of process re-engineering or an intervention, of any digital interventions. That's what you and I were talking about, whether it's RPA, AI, or machine learning. So definitely, India is definitely where I'm really focused in investing a lot. We already have invested last year, we actually did start up our new Gurugram location, which is a 28,000 square foot office, in the IT tech park, that center has a capacity of close to 350 seats. And if you ask me, Amit, we started last year, out of those 350 seats, I think 150 seats are already occupied. And I do have such a line of sight, that by end of this year or mid of next year, I would actually be looking at an alternative location, as well because this location would be completely exhausted. So that's the way I think India, my focus and concentration is more about to expand in India. Again, it actually gives, more of an economies of scale as well. And definitely the quality of the talent pool, both from a domain as well as from a tech perspective. And that combination is the best combination.
Very, very. So, can you also talk about your recent achievements, means achievements in the last 12 to 18 months, uh, around your business growth, around the acquisitions, or maybe any customer acquisition, or any new product offerings, or any achievement that you would like to highlight?
Definitely. So, Amit, over the course of last, 12 to 18 months, we have been able to acquire almost, 10 different, clients in across the segments, regional, super regional banks. And they're a category of banks, Amit, all those banks, actually have been working with the big players like the Wipros of the world or the TCS of the world or Genpacts of the world. We have been able to actually disrupt. We are the disruptor of the market. So we have been able to acquire those customers and, and we continue to actually expand with them, in this year and then in the coming year. So that's, and when I talk about banks, they're banks the size of 400 billion in asset size, 220 billion in asset size. And all these banks are in the top 10 banks in the United States. That's more from a customer acquisition perspective. And see, I mean, that led to my growth, what actually we are, witnessing right now and what we actually have a line of sight for 25, 26, because I'm always forward looking up with, in terms of how we actually, are growing in terms of that, because we are 300 plus employees today. Maybe as of last year, at maybe this time we were around 150 or something like that, maybe 100. Okay. So that's what we have been able to acquire. And then also what actually outside of that, Amit, I have been also able to, diversify our segments. We have been able to acquire customers in the crypto space as well, which is a completely a new segment in financial services, which is all around blockchain technology or so. We have been able to acquire clients in that space. In fintechs, we have been able. So what I'm trying, Amit, so I'm able to diversify. So acquisition of really some big banks as a customer. And at the same time, we're able to diversify, the industry as well. Oh, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, as far as the banks are concerned. So we are actually equally penetrating into the other segments of financial services, be it the crypto companies of the world, be it the fintechs of the world or so. And that's what ultimately I would say in the last 12 to 18 months, we have been able to do very effectively. Then moving, in terms of digital innovations, Amit, what I spoke about. First, I spoke about Alpha. This is a digital solution which has been already implemented. It's there in the market and we are taking it very extensively. It's more about the automatic elimination of the false positive. Then also on the digital side, we also, in fact, invested extensively, built a solution called Fluent, which is more around the digital real-time learning knowledge management solution, which has the, elements or the features of gamification, assessments, chatbots, because that's the way I really want to make the learning very real-time, virtual, and interactive, not only for our employees, even for our clients as well. And in fact, Amit, the kind of feedback I'm getting for our clients, the clients are saying, can you implement it for us or no, or not? So that's the way, in fact, that's number one. Number two. Number three, in the banking and financial services space, Amit, governance is very critical. Governance and reporting. So what we did, we also built another solution called Factor, okay, which is all about the real-time, Power BI based reporting ecosystem that we have built that interfaces with different data sets, from our clients. And what we are able to do, we are able to actually, create that intelligence. That this is more of a business intelligence solution that we have built to provide real-time business intelligence to our clients, be at any level, be it at an operational level, or be at a middle management level, or be it actually at an executive level. An executive wants to see, oh, what's the health of my entire business. The manager wants to see, oh, what's the health of my team? And the operations staff wants to see, okay, what's my health? Okay, what kind of a work I'm doing? And that's what, all these are different initiatives, Amit, that we have taken and they have been implemented very successfully. And taking it further, I continue to invest really big time in very new digital technologies, being, partnership with any of the, platform providers, in fact, in the RPA space, whether it is AI, UI Bath or Blue Prism or Automation Anywhere. We're actually onboarding our head of digital services, in the month of June. So all those, what we have accomplished, Amit, and what is forward looking, I want to just give you a perspective on both sides.
Very good. Very good. Perfect. So, my last question would be around your basically to understand your growth strategies and business plans that you have got specifically for India. That means the business plans and expansion plans that you've got in a store to expand your footprint in India.
Amit, extensive. As I said, India is a destination for me, and I'm not trying to be biased because all of us are Indian. No, we actually bring a lot of value, and the way, we are actually respected. And I think in the US ecosystem, that's really commendable. Okay. But at Anaptyss, the way the value driven model, what we are trying to actually bring to the table and what we have accomplished being a new logo in the market, Amit, without any legacy of a Genpact or a big companies, we have been able to make our presence felt. I really feel proud on behalf of my team that we have been able to sign 17, 18 clients. So I think what I continue to see, Amit, that we will continue to expand and invest big time in India in expanding our presence, acquiring talent. And that's what, I was actually talking to Ashima. I really want actually what we are doing right now, Amit, from an India market perspective, we really want to make our brand felt. Where one is actually the word of mouth. Oh, when we were hiring people, Amit, oh, what is Anaptyss? Who is Anaptyss? Nobody was aware. But now through word of mouth, we have such a good presence in India. People actually, are joining us, and we have built a culture of empowerment, a culture of growth, a culture of learning. And that's what we are actually investing big time. And that's where I think down the line, as one is the more of the business pipeline, I see India, as a prominent destination for us where we continue to expand, not only in the tier one cities, Amit, I also want to equally invest in the tier two cities like Indores of the world or Jaipurs of the world, because there is a local talent, and that's more of an, talent that actually has not been, in fact, leveraged so far. I really want to leverage that local talent pool as well for definitely specific set of operations, what you actually can perform. And that is what ultimately I'm looking over the course of next, when you and I talk next year. I wanted to really share a good news that, okay, I have actually opened up another center in a new city. That's the way, because see, I do have the line of sight on my business pipeline and where to fit into these operations. That's the way, we're looking at. So definitely India actually as a location is a very critical, part of my strategy and vision for Anaptyss.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Anuj, for sharing your valuable insights with us today. In fact, it has been a pleasure having you here. And to our audience, thank you for joining us. Until next time, take care and stay tuned for more engaging discussions.
Wonderful, Amit. Thank you so much. Really pleasure talking to you. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.